Hey y'all, I'm Kara.
And I'm Danielle.
Welcome to the 30-ish podcast.
Welcome back.
What's up, guys?
I'm Danielle, homeschool mom of 2, almost 3.
And I'm Kara, mom of 2 and English teacher.
Coming to you live from my backyard.
Yes, we're finally getting some sunshine here in Tennessee.
So we had to move to the great outdoors.
I know, I convinced Danielle. I'm in my tank top and shorts. It's like the first day, it's 60 degrees. I'm being dramatic. But I was like, we have to go outside and record and get a little vitamin D.
Yes. Yeah, she showed up at my house and she's like in a tank top, cutoffs, and I have a sweatshirt and leggings and my Ugg boots on. I was like, we're not on the same page.
It's fine. You're pregnant.
Well,
You
I
get to be extra
changed
comfy.
into my t-shirt for today. So this morning when I got up though, I got up early. Early for me, and I went and ran some errands this morning. But it was chilly this morning.
Yeah.
And then the sun came out, and
It's supposed to get warmer as the day goes on, too.
yeah, I mean, I think right now it's 64.
Yeah.
64 in February with the sun. So,
Well, and we just had 10 days of snow, so that's just Tennessee weather
ice.
for you.
yeah, for real. For real. But, you know, we'll take what we can get. Right?
Yes.
Yes. So, besides the weather, what have we been up to? You know what's interesting that I wanted to bring up is a reel I saw.
Okay.
Well, I keep seeing variations of this reel, and
You don't like it?
I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I just think that it's like, I don't know. Okay, so I'll tell you what the reel is about. So it's basically like low maintenance friendships are the only ones that survive. And like to a degree, I guess I like can see where they're coming from on that. But I think there's a big difference between low maintenance and low effort
Yes.
in a friendship, and to just be like, oh, the best friendships are the one where you just don't even talk to each other
Mm-hmm.
and you don't reach out, and if I cancel on you every time, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that either. Like, I just don't think that's like a good message. I don't know. Maybe I'm being like a little like sensitive, but I don't know. I just feel like the older you get, the more you have to put into into any relationship, but like a friendship. And just like, I don't know, what do you think? Like, because I just like, I kind of see where they're coming from,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't want a friend that like gets mad at you every time you have to cancel if like your kid is sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I think we've even talked about that before. But like, also, yes, but also like, if you're just ignoring me,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you never text to check in, you never like are the one to invite, or I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think there's a difference. So, and I think it depends on the friendship. When
Yeah.
I think about my friends, like some of them, we are just in different seasons of life.
Yeah.
Or they may be more busy than I am or whatever. So I think there's some truth into like those friendships that you can go a long time without talking and pick right back up.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because I have plenty of really good, strong friendships that I don't talk to them for weeks.
But I wouldn't say that's the rule for all friendships. Like, especially if they're canceling on you and not making the plan, like not making it a priority.
Yeah, because everybody wants to feel like, I don't know, like you want to be in this friendship with me.
Well, it requires effort.
Yeah,
You
and I
know?
think that's what I mean, like low effort versus low maintenance.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying every time we hang out we need to like have a theme party and like, you know, like order food and whatever, but like you can come over in your pajamas and we can watch TV. That's low maintenance to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, low effort sounds like it would be this good thing of like, I'm not gonna put a whole lot of effort into what I look like, or like I know I could show up as myself, but not putting effort forth into the relationship and the friendship is totally different.
Yes, and that's, I think, kind of like what the theme is going on social media right now, and I'm just like, Sorry, guys. Accidentally hit mute.
Oh, we good.
Okay,
We
sorry. But yeah, so I think that's like the theme that's going on social media right now is like I keep seeing this like low maintenance friendship thing, and I'm just like, yeah, I think we need to clarify. It doesn't mean don't show your friends some effort.
Right. Well, and I feel like you don't want to go too long without having those conversations because, I mean, I guess there are some people who don't have close friends.
Yeah, there are plenty of them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, like, that's kind of one thing that I think we're hoping to talk about, like, and help people with was, like, friendships in your 30s. Like, it can be hard. It can be hard once you have, like, a husband, once you have, like, a kid, once you have a new career or something.
You have to carve out the time for it.
Yeah, I think that's like the main point is you just have to, I don't know, yeah, just show some effort in
Right.
friendships. Like, otherwise, you're not gonna have years-long friendships.
Well, and I was gonna say, I've had to realize that there are some people. This is so cliche, and I didn't come up with this, but there are some people that come in your life for a season, and some people that come in your life for a reason. And there's gonna be certain friendships that you outgrow or they outgrow. And that stinks. And when I think on my friendships, each of the relationships is really different. Like I have several, I would say close friends, but there are ones that I go months without talking to. There's ones that I've been friends with since I was in middle school that I know no matter what, we'll pick back up. I guess I would say you don't have to exert a whole lot of effort, but I think that's because the friendship has spanned so much time.
Yeah.
We know that it's there, but you definitely can't do that with a newer friendship. But then there's a friendship of mine where we are very close, but we are in different life seasons. And so she has other friends who she hangs out with more often because they're in her life season.
Right.
That it is almost hard sometimes because it's like, well, that friend knows all the ins and outs of what's going on in your life. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of missing those pieces. But you also have to realize, especially I became a mom early. I was 22. And I was the first one of my friends, well, besides my absolute best friend. She had a baby 9 months before me. But we were the first of our friends to have babies. And my husband's friend group or whatever. And so I had to realize those relationships are going to look different for me. Like I'm not going to be able to just go out with y'all or go to dinner every Friday or whatever unless I can bring my baby. And especially when we had Nolan, Brian was in the police academy. So it was 6 months of like grueling round the clock work he had to do. He had to be in Nashville at 5 a.m. every morning. And so we were, as a family, going to bed by 7 p.m. every night. We didn't have a whole lot of time for me to just go out and hang out with my friends. But the relationships that are meant to be maintained will, and the people who do care to sustain those friendships will still reach out, or will reach out knowing that you're in a hard season.
Yeah.
And I've had friendships fall off, and I think we've talked about that before. When you have kids, there are people that are going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
And friend breakups are way harder than romantic breakups.
Yeah, they
in my
can be.
opinion. So
Yeah.
where I lost a friendship I never ever would have thought I would lose when I had Nolan. And I just had to realize, if that was meant to happen, then that's not someone that I would want to be a part of my kid's life and then get close to him and then that fall off, you know what I mean? So things happen for a reason, but it's kind of like when we talked about if people want to, they will.
Yeah, that's like my motto.
And you see that in adult friendships a lot, to where if a person values your friendship, then they're going to value your time.
Yes, and that's my number one thing. Like, for me, time. Like, if you're valuing my time, like, that's a form of respect for me. Like,
not canceling constantly, especially morning of. I can't do that. I mean, we get it with having kids,
Yeah.
like sick kids or pink eye or something crazy, can
Yeah.
happen and it's unavoidable. But if it's consistent, or we'll see if I
Yeah.
can come
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Yeah.
not rescheduling or trying to figure something out. And it doesn't have to cost money. I think that can be one thing
Yeah.
that's a deterrent for some people. Like, you don't have to go out every time,
Yeah, for sure. Like, you can just come over to my house and watch a show with me, or I don't know, let's just talk. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I think everybody's kind of craving that companionship, and especially with like social media and everything, like it kind of gets lost because you're like, oh well, I'm keeping up to date with your life, you know, on social media. Like I know sort of like what's going on with you, but like I haven't talked to you in like 3 months.
That is so true, because
Yeah.
you feel like you've got tabs on what's going on, even
Yeah.
though we know people only share so much on
Right,
social media.
it's like a highlight reel for sure. And it's like, yeah, like you know about the big stuff that I'm posting about, but maybe you don't know that I'm like having a hard time with this, or like, you know,
the struggles.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know. I've had 2 major friendships in my life where it got to a point where I felt like I was putting so much effort into the friendship that I said, hey self, basically, if I just don't text them back, like how long is it gonna take for them to text me or call me or like set something up, right? And both times I never heard from those people again.
Oh my goodness.
And it's sad, and it's like, okay, Danielle, like you were setting them up for failure, but it's like, no, like even if it would have been a month later and I heard from them, I'd have been like, oh hey, like how's it going? Like I wouldn't have said, hey, like I've been testing you.
I can't believe you haven't reached out. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have just been like, oh great, like it took them a little time, maybe they were busy, but they finally reached out. Like they do want this friendship too. And it just, yeah, like it's hard. And those were like really good friends of mine.
I feel like there's this layer of awkwardness too, to where if you go a while without seeing someone, or say you miss something big of theirs, like a baby shower or birthday party or kid's birthday party or whatever, you almost feel this shame about it, so then you don't reach out.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like if you're in that spot, because I've kind of been in that awkward spot before, just reach out.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Letting it go more time.
Moral of the story: reach out to your friends.
Yeah, because you're potentially just setting them up for failure, and a lot of times people are struggling with things that they're not outwardly sharing, and so it's better to just reach out and then, you know, get
Go
together
from there.
late rather than not do it at all and lose the friendship.
Yeah, even if you can't meet up, like
You
to
can
just
talk
be like,
on the phone.
yeah, exactly. Like I have plenty of friends. Like a lot of my friends live in Florida. Like I even have one friend who we've been friends since middle school, and she lives. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Pregnancy problems. She lives in Indiana, which is where I'm from originally, and we will go months without speaking to each other. But she was in my wedding, I was in her wedding. Like we are always going to be friends. Like we just are. Like she'll text me, you know, on the big things, and I'll text her on the big things. And if we're ever like in close proximity to each other, we will reach out and be like, hey, you know, how's it going? Like, let's meet up or whatever. Like if I'm going to Indiana or she's coming here. And you know, it's like, it's kind of like you said, like we've been friends for longer, so like it doesn't need as much effort. But like, yeah, I think if you're trying to make new friends, you need to make the effort.
Right.
And show up.
And not everyone who listens is a mom or, you know, wants to be a mom, but I do feel like for those who are, or especially our new moms, you can recognize that there's this change that happens after you have a kid. And for me, I felt like I was a different person. Like my priorities were different, what I cared about was different, the things I wanted to put energy into were different. And it's not saying that like my interests weren't the same or I needed all new friends or anything like that.
Right.
But you almost, it's not that you don't want your old friends, but it's natural, it's human to seek out people who are in the same season. And so I remember, you know, wanting mom friends or spending a lot more time with my childhood best friend who just had a baby than we, you know, typically did being in college. And because we could take them on stroller walks, or I could get advice from her. And she was really great about giving hand-me-downs because she had a boy too. And just, I don't know, find friends that are in that season. I know that's so much easier said than done, but we're trying to make this not just a podcast, but a community, and hopefully have, you know, quarterly meetups and that sort of a thing where you can make friends whether you're mom or not.
Yeah.
There are those mom walks that we've talked about
Yes.
in Murfreesboro. There are, good mom groups that you can get plugged into, and it's scary to go to one of these things not knowing somebody. We get that, but I mean, come to ours. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fun, and we'll be your friend no matter what. So
Yeah. And yeah, just even showing up, whatever that looks like, I just think is super important. And I think that's what everybody's just craving, is someone to show up for them. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the trend I was seeing that's like, don't show up. But yeah.
I feel like we have found that in unexpected places too through our book club.
Yeah.
I just randomly put something out on Instagram, and I was wanting friends, but I also had really gotten into reading and liked the idea of Danielle's over there having a contraction.
I'm so sorry. You can keep talking. I'm okay. I just couldn't hold that.
Danielle's about to go into labor
I'm not.
live on the podcast. I was just gonna say we found unexpected friends through something as simple as an Instagram post of you are also commonly interested in reading, but I even think I shared it on the first slide of it won't just be about books, like let's get together and eat or go to coffee shops or have drinks or whatever we can each host. And we found the best friends through people who we literally didn't know.
I didn't know. Yeah. A single person. Well, besides you.
Yeah. And, the group has grown. There's been people that have just recently joined. There's been people that have, been busy and not been able to come anymore. And it's really been a cool experience because the original group, I knew each of them somehow because I was the person who had shared it. And then it kind of just started to break off and multiply more and more because someone would bring a friend. And it's been really cool to see, Danielle and another friend of mine, Kristen, become really good friends. And they both met through book club.
Yeah.
Or Haley made a post about being excited for your baby month.
I love Haley.
I know. And so and I don't know, even Morgan, she's a more recent member, and I didn't know her as well as some of the other girls. Our husbands were in the Marines together, but she listens every week to our podcast.
Shout out to Morgan. She's our best loyal follower.
She's our OG follower.
She's someone who shows up for her friends, and I respect the hell out of her for that.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, is Morgan is that example of that. She came to your baby shower and drove to Franklin. She came to our launch party. She listens every week, and she comments on, when she sees us, she's like, oh yeah, I heard that on the podcast. And those are the type of people, when I was worried when Danielle was coming to me, let's start this podcast. I was like, no one's going to listen. And no one's going to come to these launch parties. And it's crazy when we see, the people who download it every week. I'm like, oh, wow. That many people have actually listened to us today.
Yeah.
There was one morning I was at work, and it was 9:30 in the morning, and it said 23 people had already listened that day.
Yeah, and it, just had been uploaded.
Yeah, I think it had been uploaded the day before, but still. 23 people had listened that day.
Oh, okay.
More people had listened the day before.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm just sitting here at work, and people are actually listening to our podcast. So
we're showing up for you, and you show up for us.
Is the contraction through?
The contraction is over.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry to alert everyone, but it was a little painful.
Danielle is going to labor in 11 days.
Kara's convinced that she knows my baby's birthday.
Valentine's Day.
Yes. Which very well could be the case, but we have no idea.
It is her due date, which means that it'll never probably actually happen. But
I know someone who they have 3 kids, and the first 2 were both born on her due date, and the third one was, I think, either the day before or the day after.
Wow.
How crazy is that? She should buy lottery tickets.
Yeah,
that's just...
Neither of my babies were on their due date.
Yeah, well, I feel like most people are not.
Nolan, I was trying to keep in. I had preterm labor for months with him.
Dang.
And Collins, I got induced, so we picked her birthday.
Yeah. I was induced with Kennedy, and then Grace and my water broke. So we'll see what happens this time. You just never know.
Well, Danielle was having contractions through the night, so I feel like this is a good sign. Hey, and her husband is at the park with her kids, so maybe I can drive you to the hospital.
Oh my gosh. The baby is not coming right now.
Yeah,
it was one contraction.
I'm going to go get you some
Kara's going to start timing me.
Jalapenos and pineapples and make you bounce on a yoga ball.
we still have time, okay? You need to stop rushing this labor.
I just want to be a part.
Don't worry, Kara. I will tell you when the baby's coming.
Yeah, you better.
Don't worry. I won't keep it to myself. But actually, that's a good point, and something else that we wanted to talk to everyone about is, I know, like we said, not everybody is in the season of life where they're having kids, but obviously we are. I currently am. And one topic that we just feel really passionate about, and I feel like is, like, a lot of people have great intentions with this season of life, but it's postpartum. And both of our husbands think that postpartum means you have depression or anxiety, but that's not true. Postpartum just means after you give birth.
It's just that season. Sometimes it's also called the 4th trimester.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. And it's just like, we wanted to touch on it because, like, I feel like it can be really isolating because you go from, you're physically pregnant, like, and everybody's like, oh, we're so excited for you and the baby, and you know, like, whatever, and then you have the baby and it's all about the baby. And yes,
100%.
like, the baby needs a lot of attention, but like, most of what the baby needs is from the parents, not from outside people. And it's great that everyone's so excited about the new addition, and like, we get it, we understand. But personally, like, last time, like with Grayson, I would say was really hard for me because it wasn't my first kid. I was in a different state than a lot of my support system, and it's just like, I don't know, like, everyone, like I said, is so excited about the baby that you kind of get
Pushed by the
overlooked.
wayside.
Yeah, and it's like, maybe you're going through something, like, I had just lost my job. You know, and we were here, and there's just like a lot of factors that went into it, but like, we want to highlight some things that maybe, if you're not going through that season, or you haven't gone through that season of like just having a baby and you don't know what the mom needs from you or what the family needs from you, like, maybe a couple pointers, right?
And good advice is just ask.
Yeah, that's true too, because like, I know that a precious newborn baby, like, everybody wants to hold it and like smell it and love on it and everything, but like, the mom needs support too.
There's a quote where it's like, hug the baby but also hug the mama.
Yes.
Or hold the baby, hold the mama maybe. And it's, you know, I don't want to get too graphic, but we've all probably seen those pictures on Facebook where it talks about like your cervix and like your insides and everything, and how everything you have like a gaping hole inside of you after having a baby, basically. It's like the size of a dinner plate. And if you think about that, like, if someone was injured and they had some hole that's the size of a dinner plate on their body, like, everyone's going to be very concerned and very attentive to them.
Attentive, that's a good word.
Attentive. And I remember, like, no one talked to me, and this isn't like shaming anybody,
right,
but like,
yeah, because that was one thing, like, I did want to make sure we talked about, like, before we started talking about this, is we're not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but maybe use this as like more of a how-to, and like a different way to look at it, especially if, you know, you've never thought about it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, nobody ever talked to me about postpartum.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really, I guess I hadn't been around very many people that had just freshly had babies, and even my friend who had, I guess it's just not something we ever really talked about. But I never like thought about the fact that you have to be in like diapers afterwards, or that there's like adult diapers, not the babies. And like, it was the nurses, the postpartum nurses, who were absolute angels, who were like, here, let me help you get in and out of the shower because you can't walk right now, or like, let me teach you how to put this ice pad, and if you do this when you're at home, like, use witch hazel, or like whatever. Or with Nolan, I had a really this is so TMI, but I tore really badly with Nolan. and so I couldn't like sit down
Yeah.
without having to sit on this like donut thing, and using the bathroom was different, and there was, I don't know, just like a whole lot of extra things that at 22 I had no idea like how to prepare for. I didn't have any of the things bought. Like with your second kid, pretty much all I came to the hospital with, I brought like one outfit for her, and the rest was like postpartum things and a bunch of snacks, because you just know like that's what I'm gonna need.
Right.
But yeah, nobody prepares you. Nobody prepares you for how exhausted you're gonna be afterwards. I don't think Ryan and I have ever been so tired in our entire lives.
Yeah.
The first few days after bringing a baby home.
Yeah, and so one of the main things that I think you can do for a mom who has just had a baby is, one, respect their timeline, because it might take them a little while before they want anyone to come over. Like, some people crave that, and some people want you at the hospital, and some people, you know, want you all up in there, but other people, that's not how they deal with, like, big life moments, like me. I am definitely more of a person who, I just need a little bit of time to like collect myself, and it's not that I don't want you involved or whatever, but I need a little time to myself. That's how I like recuperate. And even if someone wanted to come over, like, you know, just respecting that timeline of like, hey, now I have 3 children, who knows what's going to be like this time, like, I might want you to come take them away.
Well, and I was going to say, there's just differences in priorities. Like, for me, it was very important that Nolan, my son, met Collins, my daughter, before anyone else did.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have him because of, like, the hospital rules or whatever, and I didn't really want him there when I was in labor anyway. But I couldn't have him there right away, so, you know, I had to have someone bring him. My mother-in-law, thankfully, was able to bring him. But it was, as silly as that is, it was important to me that he comes in the room first,
right,
and met her.
And it's not silly. It's just, it's what's important to you and what's important to the mom and what the family feels comfortable with. Like, if they don't feel comfortable with having all these extra eyes on them, then, like, you just need to, like, not take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
Take yourself out of the
equation. Like, that was gonna be my tip number 2. It's not about you.
Mm-hmm. And that's really, really hard when it comes to close family members. And I tried to keep that in mind, of like with grandparents, and especially if it's their first grandkid. Like,
yeah,
my mom and Ryan's mom were trying to beat down the door when I was in labor, and like still in that moment, we had talked about it for months leading up. Like, I'm a pretty squeamish person. I don't do well with bodily fluids and things like that. I was very nervous about labor and how it was going to go anyway. So I only wanted Ryan in the room, my husband, and they knew this, and it had never been like a topic of, you know, argument or whatever. But then the day came, and the emotions came, and crazy story, but I drove myself to the hospital in the middle of the night, and Ryan was asleep on the couch because I had preterm labor so many times that we never knew when it was the real time. So I was leaking fluid, and I was like, it's okay, I'm just going to drive myself and make sure it's not amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
Well, it ended up being amniotic fluid. So they kept me there overnight. I kept calling his phone, no one was answering. I was calling everyone, no one was answering, because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think I went in at 12, they admitted me at 2, nobody made it there till 6 in the morning. I was convinced I was going to have this baby on my own. Well, I didn't end up having him until 3 in the afternoon, but because I had called everyone came up to the hospital. So our entire families are in this waiting room, and we have lots of parents. We both have divorced parents. So it's like a whole lot of brand new grandparents in this waiting room. And my mom and Ryan's mom, I guess, got the idea of like, let's see if they'll let us be in the room.
Oh my gosh.
She delivers, and I remember being like, sorry, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But you have to, you know, set those boundaries of what that looks like for you. And I realized 2 things, and then I'll let you keep going. One, nobody prepares you for the moment. If you're pregnant or about to have your first kid or thinking about having kids or whatever, this is something nobody prepared me for either. Is that you give birth and you lay eyes on this baby that you've been dreaming about for 9 months and growing, and you feel like you're like one person with them for so long. And then they take the baby. The nurse takes the baby, and everyone else gets to go and go see the baby, like get its bath or whatever, its shots or measured or what have you. And then I was just in the room by myself.
I did not have that experience, so that's that's
Yeah,
not good.
and it was like a little. This is gonna sound dramatic, but it was like a little T trauma. Have you heard of that? There's like little T and big T traumas. It was like a little T trauma because it was like I just had this amazing experience and met my son, and we did have. I think they gave us like 30 minutes of time to like try to nurse and do skin to skin and whatever, but it flies by. It went by so fast. Everyone came in the room to meet him, and then they just wheeled him out in the little, what is it called?
Bassinet.
Yeah, like the glass bassinet at the hospital or whatever. And so with the second, with my daughter, I was like, absolutely not. I asked them, I said, is there any way that you can do all of that in the room? And they said, for sure.
Yeah.
And so they kept her in there. We didn't do the bath until I think that afternoon or the next day. I think we waited the next day for different reasons. And then I was able to come in there. So one, advocate for yourself if you're about to have a baby.
Yes.
And just do a lot of research if you're making a birth plan, and just ask, like, can you come into the room to do these things? Can I come into the room? Can we wait? Because it's your baby and it's your birth experience, and they can't really say no to a whole lot.
And that time, like, right after you have a baby is so, like, important. And it can be a little T trauma or a big T trauma, like, if, things go awry. And there's so many things that, like, maybe you didn't know that you had control over, but you do. So, like, trying to think about it ahead of time and, I guess, like, protect yourself a little makes a big difference.
Yeah, I look back on my first birth experience compared to my second, and they're complete opposites. I did not ever feel like I was the person in control in the first. I was just a scared young girl, and I had a rough and tough nurse who really took advantage of that. I didn't make a whole lot of choices for myself at all, and was kind of bullied and whatever. With the second time, I had a doula and a birth plan and a much, much better experience. And you hear like sometimes that nurses and doctors don't like birth plans and things, but everyone was really, really respectful of our choices, and it was a much smoother process. But one more thing about boundaries. So with my son, I don't know if I specified this or not. I think because I didn't think I had to. But I've learned, speak these things out loud and set your boundaries in black and white so that there's no gray area or room for confusion.
Yeah.
Because there were pictures that, Ryan had sent to his family when they were in the waiting room of Nolan when he was just born, or that they took, and they got sent out to other family members. Well, it didn't really bother me that they were sent out to other family members, but they got posted on Facebook before we ever shared that he was born.
Yeah.
Which I
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But we learned the second time just to be like, hey, please hold sending pictures until we have shared something.
Yeah.
But what my point was is, that happened. It is what it is, But a mass exodus, and I'm not being dramatic. Like, so many people that saw that on Facebook and we were tagged had a baby came to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
And at one point, I looked up and counted, and my friend Katie looked at me and was like, do you want me to ask everyone to leave? And the nurse was like, do you want me to ask everyone to leave? Like, I can be mean. And I was being so people-pleasing that I thought, oh, it doesn't bother me. Like, everyone's just so excited for the baby. And, like, I was just wrapped up in the moment of just having a baby that I didn't realize, like, maybe it does bother me.
Yeah.
I looked up and counted, and there were 30 people in the room.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which, like I said, grandparents and their children were already there. Like, my siblings came and that sort of a thing. So that's already a lot. But at one point, Ryan went out in the hallway because there was a new visitor there, and he came in and he said, you're not going to believe who's here. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, we haven't seen them since high school. And yeah.
They just saw the post on Facebook and took it upon themselves to
Saw
come to the hospital?
Saw the post on Facebook, had sent me a DM on Instagram, which I just didn't see because I was a
little preoccupied?
I was a little preoccupied, and asked if it would be okay. They came with another friend who I do think we knew that friend was coming, but still, all of these people have good intentions.
Yeah.
Like posting it on Facebook and being excited about a new baby, good intentions. Coming to the hospital with a gift, they brought a gift.
Well, that's nice.
Or food or what have you, good intentions. But I would just say as a general rule, unless you're like immediate family or you're asked to come, don't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And if you are going to go to the hospital, ask and probably wait until it's like not
next
the
day.
Yeah, not the day of. Like let mom have a shower if she wants to shower first.
Yeah, like you don't even think about that. Like you just like basically went through, even if it's not a C-section, it's like almost like surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a big medical thing, and maybe you don't want everyone to see you like that. Even if they are like, you look great, you're glowing, like you don't feel your best. And yeah, oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I think we had some people come when Kennedy was born, but yeah, they definitely asked or like communicated with us, and it was not right when it happened. But with Grayson, it was COVID, and my sister's the only one who came to the hospital. So, yeah.
Well, with Collins, we didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, you're probably like so secretive.
We didn't tell anybody that she was born and didn't post until that night that she was born, I think. And I don't even think I was going to post until we were home from the hospital. I don't know what changed my mind. And then we only had very few visitors, and I'm trying to remember. I think it was just immediate family, but we only stayed for 1 day too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you live and you learn, I guess. But, okay, so a couple other things that I think are important is, yes, so we've recapped. Be respectful of the timeline. It's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I had never heard of until I moved here was a meal train.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the best invention in the entire world. Like, that is so smart.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what a meal train is, it's basically this website that someone can create for you, and you should do it. Like, if you know anyone who is having a baby, like, do that for them. Like, even if, like, 2 people send them a meal, like, it's 2 meals they didn't have to think about, especially if they have other kids. Like, not saying that, not for new moms, but, or, like, first-time moms, they need it too. Mm-hmm. But it's so amazing. It's basically, you can sign up for different days where you just say, hey, I'm bringing you dinner from wherever. And you, like, type in what you're bringing. You can just send them a DoorDash gift card. There's so much you can do with it, and it makes such a big difference. It doesn't mean you're coming over and you're taking the baby and you're gonna hold the baby. You come, you drop off the food, and you leave. And it is so helpful.
Well, and it's a really great way to set a boundary too, because you can say only on these days, only at this time, please leave at the door, or you can bring the food and come in. These are the meals that we like if you're breastfeeding and there's certain foods that you know that you'd like to eat, or if you have sensitivities or whatever. But it's very clear of leave the food at the door, or you can come by from this time to this time, because we had a meal train with Nolan, and I remember, like I said, Ryan was in the police academy, so he was gone, and I remember thinking, okay, I have the day to, just be with the baby and get the things done that I need to be and be in my pajamas or whatever until set time. And we had it set to where they could come in, and that would be the time that person could come in and first meet the baby, and we would eat dinner with them, and we kind of just liked having that time with our friends. But then with Collins,
but then you're like expecting someone, like it's a set time, it's a set, expectation, and just bring people food. Like that's all they need. They just need you to respect their boundaries and bring them food, and give them some time.
Well, and just ask. I mean, that's my biggest piece of advice, is just ask, hey, what do you need? It doesn't mean that I have to come over, but if you do want to go take a walk, because that was me. I needed to get out of my house and have some sunshine. I was pregnant through the winter, And I would have friends come over, or Ryan's Nana come over, and we would just go for a walk, and that was good for me to get out of the house. Or, you know, I'm hungry, or yeah, you can come over, or hold the baby, or whatever that looks like. It's going to look different for different people, but just asking.
Yeah. And I think, just if you needed any advice on how to take care of someone postpartum, those are just our main things. Like, respecting boundaries. Don't hold someone's boundary against them, because that just creates more little T's. Like, that really, for me, has been a problem in the past. Like, don't hold it against someone that they set a boundary, that they're just trying to protect themselves. They're not trying to be mean to you. They're not, trying to be disrespectful to you in any way. They're just really trying to protect themselves and their peace and their new baby and
Well,
heal.
and then there's a whole other part too, of sickness. You know, people have different preferences on people being around their kids or holding their kids, or especially kissing their kids, because of illnesses. You've got to think about that, and especially with the time of the year. And then also, yes, healing. There was one thing my doula told me, and it's the 5-5-5 rule,
which I had never heard of, and I think that's really cool.
Of you spend your first 5 days in bed. Like, basically, if you need something, and you don't have to follow this, but it's a good recommendation. If you need something that, like, your husband or your partner or whoever is at home with you, if there is someone, goes and gets it for you, or they bring your food to you and you stay in the bed with your legs up so that everything can heal. And then the next 5 days are on the bed. So the first 5 days in the bed, then on the bed, where, you can be up and eat your meal upright, and you don't have to be laying down, and if you, want to bring the baby on the bed and whatever. And then the next 5 days around the bed. So the thought is you're not leaving the house, but you can be up and around the house. But that is a plan that's laid out, like, specifically for postpartum healing. So I just think that visitors and family needs to keep that in mind too. If the mom has just went through something, her body has just gone through the equivalent of running a marathon, is what they say, with all the endorphins and hormones and
hormones.
Yeah, all the strenuous labor, and you don't know what that looked like. Some people have very traumatic birth experiences, and it's not helpful to have 30 people in their hospital room right after. So.
And maybe they aren't ready to tell you about that trauma just yet. So give them the time and space, and bring those mamas food.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to our TED Talk today. No, but seriously, we appreciate you being here. We know that everyone is just trying to make the best choices that they can, and if that helped a little bit, then that's all we can ask for.
Yep.
But we're really grateful that you listened today. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Kara.
And remember, we're all just walking each other home. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us every Tuesday for a new episode on Apple and Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review and follow us on Instagram at 30ish_podcast.
Bye.
Bye.